And welcome back, everybody, to the California Small Farm Conference. My name is Evan Wigg. I'm with Community Alliance for Family Farmers, and we are excited to have you here for the final workshop of today, which is Urban Agriculture, Emerging Opportunities. So I just want to give a big thanks to our three
This is
panelists
a
today
call
who
for
will be
Debbie.
talking about urban agriculture. Also want to remind everybody who's listening here that today's workshop
HBO Max.
is a meeting, not a webinar, which means that you all have access to your videos and your microphones. And so for the time being, I'm going to ask everybody to mute themselves, just so we don't get any background noise there. But there will be an opportunity later on in the workshop for interacting and some breakout groups. But for now, keep those mics off. And I would encourage in the meantime to use just your chat feature to interact, share thoughts, resources, questions, and then we'll have time for getting together later on in the workshop. So without further ado, thank you so much for being here, and I will pass it on to you all.
All right. Thank you so much, Evan, and welcome everybody. Just wanted to take a few minutes to welcome folks. This is the Urban Ag Emerging Opportunities, as Evan just said. I'm just going to give a short rundown of what to expect here today. So first, we ask folks to please write your questions in the chat. We have 3 presentations today. So after each presenter goes, the questions will be read and the presenter of that section will have an opportunity to answer. After all 3 presenters are finished, we will be setting aside 10 minutes for folks to enter breakout rooms. And I wanted to share the questions now so that folks can keep them in mind throughout each presentation. And so just sort of something to ruminate on is, based on the information that's going to be presented today, what we're really hoping for is for you to provide your insights into how any of the programs here can move forward in a way to best support you, your farms, and your community. And so just a few guiding thoughts would be, what do you see as some of the biggest barriers? What do you see that might be working in some of the things you'll learn about? And what can we adopt to introduce to improve? So I'd like to, so just keep those things in mind. I'd like to introduce our speakers today. First, we are going to hear from Keely Cervantes she is the Policy and Organizing Manager for CAFF. The second speaker will be myself. My name is Sara Bernal. I'm the Urban Agriculture Program Lead for the California Department of Food and Ag's Office of Farm to Fork. And then our third speaker is Brooke Raphael. She is the statewide outreach coordinator at Farm Service Agency. So please, again, put your questions in the chat and we'll answer the chat questions at the end of each presentation. After the breakout session, there is going to be time for group discussion, and we can also, answer questions live at that point in time. So let's take it away, and I will pass this on to Keely.
All right, thank you, Sara. Welcome, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Keely Cervantes. I'm the Policy and Organizing Manager at CAFF on the policy team. This is my first, I'm hitting about a month mark of being at CAFF. So I'm really excited to be working on these urban agriculture programs throughout the state. So a little bit about CAFF. Obviously, we're familiar, but like I said, I'm on the policy team, and some of our other departments are, ecological farming, farm to market, farmer services, and we have about 40 staff throughout the state. So according to CDFA, thanks, Sara, urban agriculture has been defined as, urban farmers and gardeners working among diverse populations to expand access of food. And urban farmers are family farmers. So we've talked a lot at the conference this week about what a family farmer is, and owning or actively engaged in a day-to-day operations or producing products that are feeding your community, intimately knowing the space, and then those profits that are generated from an urban farmer staying in the community. So these things are really important for the current state of agriculture, but also the future and the growth of this sector. So urban farmers can look like, anyone, any type of person can get involved in their community by learning how to grow food and teaching other people how to do this. So one of the things that CAFF is doing is a cooperative agreement partnership with the Farm Service Agency. And we have partners in the Bay Area and in LA to bring together really strong networks of advocates in order to provide some programming and outreach around these issues. So one of our goals is to build a network among these communities and to provide opportunities like micro grants and supporting, FSA and establishing new centers in these areas. So we're going to hopefully raise awareness of programs, of urban agriculture resources that are available for urban producers, which will support, hopefully an increased supply chain resiliency in local food systems and improve the sustainability and long-term viability of our farms. So our partners in this cooperative are some amazing organizations. We've got in Los Angeles, Food Access Los Angeles, the LA Food Policy Council, and Vegilution and Agroecology Commons in the Bay Area. And then statewide, we've got our partner at the Farm Service Agency and at University of California. We've got a couple of partners at ANR, and CAFF is serving as the sort of project lead. So what are some of our visions and goals for this cooperative agreement? We want to obviously increase visibility of urban growers, both in California and on the national scale. And the USDA programs are really investing in these pilot programs at the moment, and Brooke will be telling us more about that in a little bit. And we want to really create a network and develop mentorship and urban grower knowledge, leadership, making sure that we're connecting people around these issues. And a big project that we're about to launch is a microgrant program. So the Growing Urban Agriculture Microgrants will provide funding to urban producers in the pilot areas, so like I said, in the Bay Area and in LA, who are growing crops for community consumption and utilization. And hopefully the grant application is going live on Friday. So a little bit of details about that. There's up to $10,000 available, and the priority areas will be, historically underserved communities, people who are doing these businesses, organizations. There's a wide, range of people and organizations that will qualify. And then the hope is to use those funds to improve projects or operations. And some of those things can be site development or purchasing equipment, technical and legal assistance if you need a lawyer to be able to navigate certain things in your city. This money can be used for a lot of different things. We will be having a microgrant info session that CAFF and the FSA are going to be hosting in the middle of March. So about halfway in between when the grants go live and when the application deadline is at the end of March, to answer any questions about the application that people will run into. It's a Google form, so it'll be pretty easy to fill out, but there are a lot of questions and things that we'll need to gather information about in order to make decisions about who's gonna receive the money. So questions about that, can email that email at the bottom of your screen, and there is a page on the CAFF website highlighted here for a little bit more information. So watch out our socials on Friday for the application to go live. That's it for me. Thank you. That's my email, and then obviously the urbanag@CAFF email can be used to field any of these particular questions as well. And I think we're going to take a little bit of time to answer specific questions based on each of our presentations at the end of each presentation, so that we don't have to save all questions for the end. So if anyone has questions, put them in the chat. Feel free to come off mute to kind of just chat. And if you have any questions, if not, then we'll move on to Sara.
Okay. I'll give folks a minute just to see if there are,
So
oh, great. Go ahead, Monica.
this, Monica, that goes for, so it's gotta last you however long that it's good for. How often does he give you one of those?
Random.
Oh, I think
Oh.
she doesn't know she's
So
off
it's
mute.
for gas, vehicle
Hey
Oh.
guys,
expense, and meals out.
Let's see, how can we, hey, oh,
oh
there
yeah,
you go.
there we go.
Okay.
Does anyone have questions?
Any questions on the upcoming opportunity for CAFF's micro grants? Okay,
I have a quick question. Hey, everybody.
John.
Is it going to be a cap per organization? Could we apply for several different project sites, for example, or is it just one per org?
That is a good question. Brooke, do you have the answer to that? I think it's going to be capped at one per org, is my initial understanding.
Okay. All right. I see a question that just came in from Sonia. It says, what are the selection criteria for the micro grants?
That is still in development. Or definitely we have priority areas, like I said, and it's going to be making sure that people qualify for what type of organization or what type of business can be awarded the money. And then the selection committee will be putting together some of the criteria and a rubric for applicants shortly.
Okay.
So priority is definitely given to, like I said, farmers that have been historically underserved.
So they could be for-profit or nonprofit underserved farmers, which
yes,
there are definitions for that available. Maybe we can find that definition and put it in the chat at some point during the session today. The next question. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to address the next question from Teresa. These particular grants are only for Bay Area and LA because the USDA pilot program, these pilot cities for the urban agriculture centers are just right now piloting in these two areas. And there's other cities around the country that are doing this as well. So I know that there are other programs that are allowing applicants from outside of these two areas to apply for certain grants and funding. But this is just a pretty small micro grant program that we're just rolling out for these two areas. And there will be two micro grants, one this year and one next year. So there'll be a chance to apply for another pool of funding next year.
The next question was, can university graduate students apply?
If you have a operation, I do believe that there's no particular inability for that.
Okay, sounds like you just need to be an underrepresented farmer. The next question was again whether or not Fresno and Central Valley can apply, and Keely, unfortunately.
No, and there will be on the microgrant application, like I said, it's going live. There'll be more information, but it'll be the exact counties that you'll have to have your operation in order to apply listed on there.
Okay, and more feedback regarding the Central Valley. So thank you so much for those comments. The next question is, do these grants support potential projects like urban gardens or transitioning pesticide green space into food, forest, or garden? So I believe, and please, Cosmic Labyrinth, if you're asking whether or not you can develop new sites, is that's the kind of how I'm interpreting that?
Yes, so I think urban gardens also qualify, and I think part of the grant criteria will also be more thoroughly listed out, but I know that there's a lot of opportunity for you to do what you might want in your space. So transitioning into that is going to be part of that.
Okay. I don't see any new questions coming in, but please, folks, feel free if questions come up to add them to the chat, and we will do our best to address everything. So I will go ahead and share my screen and get started on my presentation as the second presenter. Okay, so once again, my name is Sara Bernal. I am the Urban Agriculture Program Lead at the California Department of Food and Agriculture. And what I'm trying to talk about today is how was the Urban Agriculture Grant Program designed? I just wanted to sort of share how that happened. What did we learn from the community input process in grant design? How many applicants submitted proposals? And then we'll talk about what were the trends of the applications that were submitted. First, to give a little context to folks who may not know, the Urban Agriculture Grant Program at CDFA closed October 23rd of 2023. There will be follow-up opportunities, not specifically for that grant, but I'll cover all the follow-up opportunities in this presentation. So let's continue. So the Urban Agriculture Grant Program employed what we called a community-based grant making model. And what does that mean? It means that in the early stages of development, there was about 8 months of time taken to identify what we say cultural brokers, which is really just community leaders who have existing relationships with marginalized urban farmers throughout the state. And so the state was divided into several regions, which included Sacramento, which everything above Sacramento down to Stockton. And then Fresno was a region, the Bay Area is a region, Inland Empire was a region. And then we had the Los Angeles area as a region and San Diego as the final region. So I was able to, go to each region and meet with different with different community leaders. Whether it was in person or via Zoom. I did many site visits, meeting with farmers, was able to employ a lot of different types of translation services to meet with, for example, Hmong community members. There was ample survey collection, and at the same time, one of the objectives was to present the information about what the state in terms of funding and framework had in place, so that folks could then give input as to what they wanted to see in this grant program. And so after engaging at this grassroots level, we were able to set the program priorities based on those needs. And so the goal was really to center the strengths and the needs of urban farmers throughout this entire grant framework. And it was really interesting because in that process, it became extremely clear that farmers and urban growers really, they have a lot of different outcomes that are not just pounds of produce harvested. And one of the things that really was striking was that these were all of the different things that communities active in urban agriculture identified. And so some of the things that came out of this process was that people found that urban farms are really important for building social capital, but providing spaces for community engagement. They were really important for providing education and skills development opportunities, especially for youth. They, of course, are important for supplementing access to fresh food, cultivating agricultural literacy, which really is, about consuming local and seasonal produce. They are really important for performing ecosystem services, whether that is reducing the heat island effect in cities or habitat restoration. They support economic development by creating new market opportunities and, of course, increasing food sovereignty. So creating spaces for community members to grow the culturally appropriate food produced in sound and sustainable methods that they would choose. And then, of course, finally, piloting innovations in production. And that includes everything from mushroom cultivation to aquaponics, aeroponics, hydroponics, and other types of indoor growing. So aside from the community pretty much generating all of these different values that urban agriculture produces. Some of the major takeaways from all of these months and months of listening sessions was really that a lot of farmers feel they just don't have the time or the resources to write or even manage all of these grants. The contracts with the state is a lengthy process. You write the application and then it takes sometimes 3 months to complete a contract if awarded. And then the second thing was that, farmers really just need access to funding for land, water, infrastructure, and operations. And by operations, I mean, the hourly pay to pay folks to operate your farm, to pay yourself to operate your farm. So those were the top things that surfaced in all of those listening sessions. And luckily, we were able to incorporate funding for land, water, infrastructure, and operations, along with other things such as community engagement. What ended up happening is 2 tracks of funding were created. Track 1 is called the Systems Builder Community-Based Block Grant. And this was really to fund community-based organizations that have a deeply rooted track record of grassroots involvement in urban and regional food systems to provide what we call subawards through a block grant model. So this is like a lot of jargon, a lot of words that people working in grants use, and I just really wanted to demystify that as much as possible. Essentially, it's an organization would receive funding to provide pass-through funding in the form of a subaward to folks like yourselves here, and that subaward can range from $5,000 to $60,000 per project. So that's the first track that was created, and then the second track is a really straightforward urban ag practitioners grant where urban agriculture folks would apply directly to CDFA to find funding to support their projects. We definitely prioritized projects that are either led by or serving priority populations in urban areas. And so those were the two tracks that were already developed for this program. I wanted to sort of, again, touch base because this is where the opportunity still lies, which is the development of the block grant model. It's really a funding model with the intention of removing those roadblocks of having to work with the more complicated contract system of going into a grant fund with the state. And so, again, the Track 1 Systems Builder Community-Based Block Grant is going to provide pass-through funding. That means that the CDFA will go into contract with that community-based organization, and that organization is then responsible for all of the contracts and reporting to CDFA. And then in turn, that organization can design their own application, which could be a few questions. They design their own selection process. They can design whatever type of reporting they want. It could be a phone call. It's up to this local community organization to decide. Which means that CDFA is no longer the one deciding who is going to get these subawards. So it allows for more local decision making, less reporting on behalf of the urban farmer, and a much simpler contract for the urban farmer. Really, the goal here was to remove that heavy lift, which is going into contract with the state in terms of all of the time, paperwork, and technical procedures that are required. So even though CDFA's Urban Ag Grant Program closed October of 2023, folks will have the opportunity to apply for subaward funding from Track 1 awarded organizations this summer. So that will be coming out. Announcements will be shared via our newsletter, and I will put that link in the chat so that you can sign up for the newsletter. If you missed that, just put into your search engine CDFA Urban Ag, and it'll take you right to our website, which has the link for the newsletter right there. I wanted to share sort of like just to paint a picture of what the demand looked like. Again, this opportunity closed in October, and we are still in the process of scoring and deciding on awards. So there has not been any awards made as of yet. But just to give you some context, the available funding for the Urban Ag program was $11,670,000. That's how much we have to give away as grants. Out of the 2 tracks, track 1, we had a total of 28 applicants, totaling about 20 million and a half. Sorry, well, you see the number there, $20,400,000. Sorry about that. Track 2, we had a 186 applications that totaled over $47 million in requests. So in total, in this one pilot, we had a total of 214 applicants that requested a total of, there's a need for almost $67.5 million in potential projects. And again, we only are limited to that 11,670,000 in terms of awards. I also wanted to share what the trends were of the applications received. We received a very large number of applications regarding funding youth internships and workforce development. The second most popular application was really for community gardens and food forest projects. The third most popular were for-profit and non-profit, farms that are really focused on production. And those were farms that were seeking infrastructure upgrades, whether that's irrigation or a tractor or, what have you. The fourth most common applicant was folks doing innovations in production. So really any kind of indoor growing. The fifth most popular were food security programs. And then sixth, you'll see farmer training and technical assistance. And then the last one was we did get almost half dozen applicants asking for land acquisition. Either that could be a lease or to help purchase. So even though, the CDFA Urban Ag Grant Program itself is closed, I really want to encourage people to sign up for the newsletter to stay up to date on what is going on. Stay tuned on that subaward funding opportunity that is going to be coming summer and fall of 2024. And if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to contact me via email. You can send me a text. You can give me a call. If you scan that QR code that's on the screen right now, that will also get you to the newsletter. But I will put the newsletter in the chat right now. And that is all I have for now. So I will leave this up for a minute. So in case anybody wants to scan that code. But I think I would be ready to take any questions if there are any. Let me see. And I'm going to stop sharing so I can look at the chat here. Okay. So I'm looking at the first question that I hope I didn't miss anybody. I see from John, are you seeing sustained interest from policymakers on this program and its outcomes? Any hope for renewed funding in the future, despite the difficult budget environment? I think you answered the question in your question, which is right now, there's interest in terms of wanting to understand what the outcomes of the program are. I'm going to do my best to actually provide more of a report on this overwhelming flow of interest that came from folks in the state, the number of really high level projects that were just unable to get funded because we didn't have enough money to fund everybody. But if folks don't know, the current state of the California General Fund budget is extremely challenging, to say the least. There is a huge deficit. And so, unfortunately, the Urban Ag Program was not tied to a specific piece of legislation, which means that it's not a mandatory program by the state. It's an optional program. And so, until we have more funding available in the general fund right now, all we can say is right now there's no foreseeable renewal of the Urban Ag Program, but that's pretty much all I can really say with any certainty.
Well, we're fighting for it.
Yeah, great. So and then I see okay, Teresa or Teresa, I'm not sure, Lise, is this a different grant opportunity than the micro grants? Yes, this is a totally different opportunity. Thank you for asking that question. The subawards are not limited to the Bay Area and LA. So I can actually share that the way that the state, there will be a community-based organization for each region. So the Inland Empire will have their own community-based organization. Fresno will have its own community-based organization giving out subawards. The Bay Area will have one. San Diego, Los Angeles. And so, yes, and then actually on top of all of those regions having their own community-based organization giving out these subawards, there will, in addition, be a statewide one that will be available. So, so there will be ample opportunities, or it's never ample enough, but there will be opportunities across the state dedicated to these regions for each of each person, each urban area to be able to apply for their own area.
It looks like she has a follow-up question too, Sarah. What about the Central Coast?
Oh, can we be more specific? Sorry, I got to look at a map. When we're talking about the Central Coast, can you tell me microgrants?
Yeah, Teresa, can you follow up with a little bit more about that, about the region you're inquiring about?
And it's okay if maybe she's not there or they aren't there. Okay, so if you go to the FAQ on the Urban Ag page, there is an FAQ that you can download, and it has a list of some of the cities that are covered. But any cities that are not covered by a specific region will have access to the statewide one, which is really meant to cover all of those other areas that don't have some of those like major urban centers. So keep your eyes peeled for that. The statewide community-based organization that will be elected will be able to cover all of those areas if you're not in one of those designated regions. Okay. I've also put in the chat just now the link to sign up for the newsletter, where I will be providing more information come, late spring, early summer as these things happen. And hopefully, if anyone has any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to explain and provide more detail. So hopefully that was helpful.
Thank you, Sarah. That was great.
Okay.
Well, next up, we've got Brooke. Welcome.
Screen here. All right. So as mentioned, I'm Brooke Raphael. I'm the State Outreach Coordinator for the USDA California Farm Service Agency. Moving my slide along. USDA Urban Agriculture Initiative. USDA is committed to understanding and investing and supporting the need of urban agriculture producers. And part of that is that FSA is, our goal is to increase our services and outreach in urban communities and work to understand these needs and connect them to our available programs. And so as today is what Keely was talking about with CAFF and their micro grant is part of a partnership, a cooperative agreement that they have with us. And so what we're doing is collaborating to move forward with the steps that are in place, which started with the pilot cities throughout the country. We, as in California, became part of the pilot cities in fiscal year 22. And what that meant was the USDA identified Compton, California and Oakland, California as the first pilot cities for California. And I noticed there were some questions earlier mentioning, if you're in Fresno as an urban ag producer and interested in things like that we're doing with CAFF with the micro grant, this may change in the future. This is only the beginning for USDA with these pilot cities. This is part of the USDA's Urban Ag Initiative. And in the future, we see that a lot more urban ag will not be just 2 cities in one state, it'll be throughout. And this is just the first step into this process. So with the new farm bill that will be coming out, we're in hopes that there'll be a lot more programs out there that'll really fit for urban ag farmers. And these are the steps to get us there. Moving forward to my next one. So what were those first steps? Was starting our urban county committee. So last year we ran a nomination period in the spring to get urban county committee members elected for both the regions. In June of 2023, our urban county committee members were voted in, and there are 3 members for both locations. Part of the urban, I'm sorry, my screen here, I can't see what I'm reading. Okay, so what are the committee's roles? They're outreach to local stakeholders to promote USDA programs, understanding programs within USDA and how they impact the urban producers, identifying the needs of the growing urban agriculture market within the defined urban area, engage with a new customer base, and make recommendations on training needs. And really being that liaison between the federal government and the urban producers locally. So they are a really pivotal point for us here, because as we're learning and the needs of the urban ag farmers and what their needs are, we lean on to the urban county committee members to help us as we are moving forward with the needs of the producers. So also, who are FSA Urban County Committee members? They could be community-based running a community-based garden. They could be food urban farming educators, using vertical farming practices, private backyard gardens, growing using greenhouses or hoop houses, mixed varied enterprises, the whole gamut in urban ag farming. I know it's very different than traditional farming. So we have traditional COC county committees, which are a little different than our urban county committees. We opened it up to more than just being a producer, but also being, if you're an urban ag educator as well, and things like that. So just wanted to give a little background on that, because these spots last for 3 years, but one will be in each area be up for nomination again. That only does 1 year the first year. So come this summer, we will be running a nomination period again. So if you're an urban farmer in either our pilot areas, you can definitely nominate yourself and be part of the voting period this summer. So what are the next steps for USDA and the Farm Service Agency and our partners? So as what Keely talked about, our micro grant announcement is coming up here quite quickly. And also part of that is that we'll be doing FSA CAFF and their local partners in both their region outreach events this spring and fall. We'll be going over our programs and what we have to offer with FSA at these events. And so even though currently our offices, the locations where Compton and Oakland will be, we don't have they will be brick and mortar service centers that will be created there. They're not set in place yet, but we are already doing our outreach. We can already assist farmers and ranchers in our traditional offices that are located nearby. So that's part of these outreach events that we're having this year, to identify and help and let everyone know what kind of programs we have to offer. And also another big part of that step is hiring our urban program employees. And with that, I wanted to introduce one of them, our first urban program technician that we hired for the Bay Area. Allison, are you on? They can pop on in here and say hi.
I am. I'm here. Oh, should I introduce myself?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Bunyan. I am the new urban agriculture program technician with the Farm Service Agency in the Bay Area. So right now I'm based in Petaluma at the service center there, but then I should be based in Oakland by the end of the year at a new urban service center. I also just wanted to share that right now I'm focused on outreach and connecting with urban ag producers or any producers who may not have applied for USDA programs before, and helping each producer register for farm numbers so that they can participate in USDA programs. With a farm number, you can apply for FSA farm loans, disaster assistance and risk management programs, conservation programs with the NRCS, and more. So I'll leave my email in the chat if anyone is interested in learning more or getting started with that process, and any other resources I can think of. So it's nice to meet you all, and I'll give the floor back to Brooke.
Thank you, Allison. And I did want to mention that we are working on hiring for FSA a LA urban program technician as well. And so we're hoping in the next few months they will be hired also. I also wanted to share some resources that for programs that we have. And so feel free to check these out, these links, and then of course my email and phone number. And I also wanted to introduce our sister agency from NRCS, Jamie Corfield, who is working down in the Los Angeles area. Jamie, are you on?
Hey, thanks, Brooke. Nice to meet you, Allison. Glad to have you on board. My name is Jamie Corfield. I'm the Urban District Conservationist for the Compton Field Office. As they mentioned, not yet open yet. So currently I am based in Antelope Valley, but I do make myself available both virtually and in person as I'm able to. I am essentially what is called like a conservation planner. We provide technical assistance as well as financial assistance to support different conservation practices such as soil testing, compost application, high tunnels, integrated pest management, a whole swath of stuff that I'd be happy to talk to you about. I'm going to put my contact information in the chat and a link to some of our programs. I want to draw attention to 3 primary ones we call EQIP, which is Environmental Quality Incentives Program, CSP, which is Conservation Stewardship Program, and CIG, which is Conservation Innovation Grant. I also try to stay in the loop about other USDA opportunities so I can be a better resource to you guys. So please don't hesitate to reach out, and happy to learn about the good work you're doing and see how we can better support you. And here, I'll put that information in the chat.
Thank you, Jamie. All right, is there any questions for any of us? Let's see here. I don't see any. Ladies, am I missing anything, or it looks like we're good?
No, Brooke, yeah, I'm not seeing any questions. If anybody has any comments, feel free to take yourself off mute. We have a few minutes before jumping into breakout sessions. But if not, let's see. Thank you, Allison, for putting more resources in the chat there. Okay. Well, Keely, I feel like if we want to get started, we can just go for it. Oh, you're on mute, Keely. Just FYI.
Thank you. I put some of the information in the chat, but I know sometimes breakout rooms are not people's favorite. I don't always love them, but we just want to give a few minutes for people to chat with each other about some of the challenges that they're having, and then we'll come back together, quickly report out, have a few more minutes for questions, and then we'll wrap up. So I'm just gonna, if you want to stay on, hold on for just a second. We're gonna get you into different rooms, and it's also kind of based on the information that we presented. So what are your insights into some of the programs you are familiar with FSA or NRCS? How do your farms benefit from those? How can you talk to other farmers or your community members about your experiences as an urban farmer? I am a recovering urban farmer myself, so I know some of the barriers that really present themselves when you're trying to start a business. So things like that. We're just really happy to have you guys share out some of your experiences. So I'm going to get you all in some groups here real quick, and we can go from there. So we'll give you about, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes and kind of see how that goes. Just hold on for 1 second. You know what, Evan, are you there? Can you do the breakout rooms? Because I don't think I have the ability to do it.
Sure thing.
Thank you very much.
How many people would you like per room?
I think maybe we can just do like, I think there's, you know, about 20 people. So let's just do 5 people, like 4-ish rooms.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Looks like we've got almost everybody in rooms. Two more people. I might just not be seeing it.
Yeah, it's pretty late in the day.
Looks like we've got a couple rooms, which is, you know, you can't blame anybody for hopping off breakout at
Dinner time.
5:30 when they're hungry. So I can't blame anybody for that.
This happens all the time. Whenever we go into the interactives part,
Yeah,
half everybody runs and hides.
yeah. I'm usually one of those people. I'm not always super interested in extra social interaction when I'm just kind of there to listen and learn. So I understand. It's also dinner time. So I get it. I think maybe we'll just give like 5 minutes if we do, so 5:33. If we do 5, I don't know, or maybe 7 minutes. So we'll do it 5:40.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of break everybody out at 5:40. And
Okay.
if we wrap up a few minutes early, that's obviously fine. Great job, Sarah and Brooke. Good info.
You too, thanks.
I am gonna send out information on everything on the, it looked like, I'm not, Evan, I might have to like double check with you about how to do this, but I saw someone else today send out an email
Yep.
with resources from their thing. Can I do that directly from the page? Or how does that work?
Okay, let me just, someone just jumped back into the meeting, so I signed them to a room. Yeah, so what you
Oh,
do
great.
is when you go to Sched,
Yep.
if you're logged into Sched,
Mhm.
and you go to this workshop,
Yep.
do you
And
see a button that says speaker tools?
I see. Says you're speaking on this session, view attendees and manage.
Yeah, maybe manage.
Okay, let me see here. Okay, email attendees.
There you go.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people signed up and not everybody's able to come, so then we can send out some of these links and resources. And then I don't know if we really covered, Brooke, some of the questions in the chat too about the county. What was it? Sarah put a couple questions in there. The county How can people find out when the nomination period is open, and what does the commitment look like?
Oh, okay. Do you want me just to answer
Yeah,
it?
if you just want to write it. I don't know if everybody sees that when they come back in from a breakout room.
Can mention it. I just could bring it up.
Yeah,
The person, I'm looking for this question in here.
it was Sarah all the way like up above when we introduced Allison and Jamie.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah. I totally forgot I even typed that in.
You, Sarah.
I was like, wait, I keep hearing my name. Is it actually me?
Do you want me to answer to you?
I just thought people might want to know, like,
Yeah.
how,
Yeah, the
Yeah, if you
nomination,
want to
or I could
type it
answer.
when everybody comes back in, if you want to type it in the chat when everyone comes back in, just in case sometimes it gets like lost when people aren't like in a specific part of Zoom. I don't want that to happen. So yeah, if you just want to write the answers to those questions and then put that link. What was the one that you had on the end slide? Oh, the Urban Ag Program at a Glance link. So you had that on your last slide.
Yeah, I'll just put it
but
up
it didn't.
there.
Yeah, if you want to put it on there, that'd be great. And then we'll also put that as a follow-up.
Brooke, you look like you're like in like some film noir, like
Ah!
art film. I love it.
I've got my art class teaching after this, so that's why. No, I'm joking. Teaching, what is it, Degas?
Totally.
I love that. Man, my son was like freaking out at the end of my session. He's like
Oh
crying.
no,
I was
really?
like, of
Didn't hear it.
course, this has to be. I mean, thank goodness for like Apple AirPods because they filter everything out. But
Wow.
I
That's
was
impressive.
like, he's like right outside the door for a minute, and I was like, why are you all of a sudden freaking out? It's because it's like I don't go to work ever. Like I'm not like unavailable to him while he's like when he comes home from school. And so for me to be like, don't bother me for an hour and a half, he's like, oh God, I have to melt down about this.
Oh my goodness. Oh, how old is he?
4.5.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, that's his job.
Irrational, big feelings. Yeah, they're like main purpose in life.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, just to refresh, we are letting people back in at like 5:40
5:40,
or something. 5:40.
Nope, 5:40. Yeah, and then we'll just if we need to wrap up a few minutes early, but so we can kind of come back for a.
Is the timer going to go off in the breakout rooms? Like, was that assigned, or are we just kind of like going to kick
That's a
people
good
out all of a sudden?
question.
Because
Evan,
getting
do you
kicked out,
have the
yeah,
answer to that? Do you have
it'd
like
be
a
good.
timer that it does, or do you just kick people out?
Usually it's
so
oh yeah.
I'm closing. I'm gonna do a 1-minute warning. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Keely, do you want to continue to guide the conversation? Are you cool with that?
Sure.
Well, I'll just be here to support or whatever, but
yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
thanks for doing that.
All right. Everyone is sort of slowly filtering back in. People probably also jumped. Give it another minute here. Let's see. Thank you to everyone who has stuck with us. Thank you so much. Really looking forward to getting some feedback on these questions. So just give it another second here. All right, so I don't think we necessarily need to say like each group, you know, report out, but if anyone has something that they want to share from your conversation, the first question was, what do you see as the biggest barriers? Does anyone have something that you'd like to share out from your conversation about that? Come off mute, whatever you want to do. Video, no video, doesn't matter.
Hi, this is Chucho out here in Fresno. I think one of the things for us as BIPOC farmers, or at least trying to transition from farm work into farmers, we acquired some land here in urban Fresno, but the idea is, I was mentioning to our group that it's always a 50-50 chance of getting serviced in FSA, and asking about what the resources we have, especially if you're monolingual in Spanish. So I know that's a big issue, and I think that there's a need to improve. Like in Fresno, we're fortunate that Chantel, who is the department, loans department, yeah,
Loan manager. Mhm.
loan manager, yes, thank you. She has a very professional and friendly attitude and tries to be helpful, but the office itself is very understaffed, as it is in other places. But you go to Merced County and it's a different attitude. You're not even encouraged to go to the office if you don't have a loan with them or some kind of a project going on with them. They just say go to our website and check out the information there. Or if you go to San Benito, where people are not even given a receipt of service, much less are they actually given a proper service and when making some kind of claim or of payments. And so it depends, but that's a challenge. Like for myself, even having invested in this land, which is almost 2 acres in urban Fresno, and having shared that with the people in the office, it's they're like, well, let us know when you have an idea of something, you know? Well, I'm trying to make sure that I use that for urban farming, also the space so that we can uplift one another. It's creating a farmer's market there that building co-op structures instead of individual, procuring those elements. And if I talk about co-ops, it seems like their wheels get stuck. I don't know. But yeah. Want to be mindful with the rest of the folks want to share. Thank you.
Chuko, I appreciate your feedback, and I definitely will provide that to our leadership. And you know, the urban ag initiative is a new thing for USDA, and we are definitely growing in it. And so I'm hoping for our future is as our employees, you know, are getting more training and working with urban ag farmers, and that there will be change in all of our offices, not just for the pilot cities, because we know there are more urban ag farmers, not just in LA and San Francisco, you know, in the Bay Area. It's you guys are all over. So there's big growth here, and we got big shoes to fill here at USDA for urban farmers. And I appreciate your feedback, and I will be sharing that with our leadership.
Thank you, Brooke.
Any other share outs that people want to volunteer for? Right. So the next question that we presented was, what do you see that is working in these areas? Any volunteers?
I guess I'll add, we didn't really talk about this in our group about what was working, but I find in my experience is if we can give people the land access, which is usually the big shortage, but if we can get them the land access and the skill set, it's amazing how much a group of people can accomplish. So that's for me, as a program manager, we have a 5-acre farm, 4 community gardens, 4 school gardens. I'm just always impressed by how much can get done by just a small group of dedicated people. But the problem is, and especially in California, is always land access.
So kind of with that, really helpful to hear something that does work. And how do you think that the state or USDA, FSA could adapt, or programs, ideas they could adopt to improve some of the issues and barriers and challenges that everyone sees?
I'm not sure if someone's gonna go.
Go for it.
Yeah, no, I think that it's more communication with the farmers. For us in the as in the Central Valley, there is a movement of the face of the new farmer changing. It's no longer a white male. It's becoming very diverse. And I know that within the Farm Bill itself, there is no procurement towards that, as we will transition, and that's it's a big issue for us. I mean, we're inheriting attitude of being isolated as farmers instead of coming together, and we're discouraged. And for us, I wish there was more communication, at least presence in the community, and more outreach in asking what is it that we need at least, in terms of how FSA and RCS would be able to procure that transition that we are doing as immigrants or farm working families now having land, and that's the case whether it's in the urban area or the rural area. So more communication.
And Quentin, do you have a follow-up for that from your previous comment too? What can be improved?
No, I agree with Chucho, and I also think we need to include the farm workers in really anything we do. We've got a farm bill that's late from September. Hopefully it'll get passed this spring, but it's really interesting that and this is not something that one person's going to change, but it's interesting that the farm bills don't address anything about farm workers. And I think that dichotomy needs to kind of be resolved because they go hand in hand. And like Chucho said, the demographics are changing, and I think that the system needs to reflect that change. So we can address it with, let's say, if we're doing office, if I'm working with the Office of Refugee Resettlement, I mean, I can address it down that path, but I think it needs to be much, much bigger, systemic.
One quick update that I can share is just that this is probably a process that's going to take more than a year. Who knows? It could be, I don't know, up to 5 years. But just to share that right now, CDFA is interested in trying to find more ways for folks to use grant funds for things like land acquisition, which hasn't happened in the past. So just know that the ball is rolling. Nothing at the governmental level happens super fast, but I'm in those rooms having conversations. And even though there's, there's all the legal processes and figuring out how those things will roll out, the awareness that land access, especially in a state as expensive and inaccessible as California for land, is definitely at the forefront of conversations, both at the equity office and also at the office of farm to fork. I just want to let people know that that is not that conversation has begun.
That's great news. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
We had a
Looks like-
conversation in our group about all these grants are great, but they are going to be unsustainable, right? Because they're limited by the budgets and how many years out. And so the question was just kind of raised, like, how really dependent are we going to become on public aid money?
Super important point about sustainability. Thank you, Teresa.
Mhm. Sarah feels that for sure. Yeah. I think there's another comment too about needing to integrate housing and healthcare for farm workers. So the bigger bottom line too is that it's not just an issue that impacts one aspect of just agriculture on the ground. It's other agencies throughout the state that have to get involved in a cross-sectional way. You have your hand raised, Cosmic. Do you want to?
I just
hop off
realized that I keep getting called Cosmic Labyrinth, but that's the collective I'm a part of. My name is Indy. I actually moderated the panel a couple of days ago about transforming rural healthcare, where we had a bunch of doctors and acupuncturists and nurses sharing a lot of really important perspectives. So it's real, the housing and healthcare means a lot to me. And I wanted to bring up something I brought up in our smaller group was is us kind of leaning in that it is an election year, and as yucky as that is, it's also a great opportunity for us to maybe reimagine what it is to practice citizen assemblies. Maybe it is really valuable for us to maybe invite local policymakers or people running for office to local farms and gardens and inviting them into the space. And I've learned, I was doing this out in Hawaii, was actually getting the policymakers and getting the people who are on the levers of power, right? The county managers, city managers and whatnot, getting them to get on their hands and knees on the ground and weeding and talking while weeding and actually having conversations about the problems while being humble. Like creating some humility with the people who have power, right? And there's something magical about that. So, and then having food, like food for everyone, music for everyone, cultural exchange for everyone. So maybe we can channel this year to do some of that because people will, when you honor them, they'll listen a little bit more. So, but it's important also not to make it about them. So making sure they actually are respectfully humilified. Is that a word? Right. I'll share my article that I wrote because a lot of people have been asking me about what we did, and you can see some examples of what we did in Hawaii. We did it at farmers markets. We did it at local community farms that were feeding seniors and elders with the food they were growing. We just kind of created radical spaces that are not very radical. It might be actually where politics started, right? Was around a tree, was around on a farm, sharing music around a fire. So let's reimagine that a little bit more.
Thank you for sharing that. That is very important.
I just want to share something in solidarity, and I don't want to speak for folks in Puerto Rico or farmers out there, but just being out there and having engaging with the farmers and co-ops and stuff out there, spending time out there. It's one of the things that USDA, their relationship with USDA is really bad, and there's many opportunities in the urban settings for farming, especially for these folks, and it's something that I hope that that's something that will be improving. I know they're very vocal. Our farmers and ranchers out there in Puerto Rico, they're vocal, but again, it's been a while, and understanding that they do go through those natural disasters and hurricane season, and it's a tough stuff. So definitely just echoing some of the stuff that they would say. But yeah.
This is a real pie in the sky idea, but since we're talking about, what the different departments, agencies of USDA could potentially do, I think some level of public support for urban ag is just inevitable due to market realities of food. But rather than try to avoid that, leaning into it and really looking at the various benefits, the ecosystem services that urban farmers provide to cities. I've had conversations with probably several folks here just about how the opportunity to maybe support some alternative procurement, help urban farmers connect their products. And, I'm just thinking of things that are sustainable and future looking, and, I'm not suggesting like a Section 32 buy for urban ag products, but why not? Right? Having a guaranteed sort of home for the commodities that you grow. I don't know. I mean, it's great that urban ag funding is getting back in this iteration of the Farm Bill. As Quentin kind of mentioned there, but just to see that expand support and the interconnectedness and this idea of supporting food hubs. And there's a lot of folks doing a lot of great work, but I think that is a sort of a collective procurement idea is one that I've heard a lot about, a lot of enthusiasm.
And I just wanted to mention, with the great ideas that are coming out, that I'm hearing and feedback, I'd love to talk with you more on sidebar conversation about these kind of things, and especially bringing it up to the leadership I work with here at the USDA. My email is in the chat and my phone number as well. I love to, you got ideas, to change things and make things better for urban ag growers and fixing with our programs and making them better with the new Farm Bill. And I mean, I'm open to set you all in front of folks back in DC, and they're willing to hear, because they, like I said, this is something that they're just getting into and learning about, and a lot of them don't have a clue. And so please connect with me and see where we can get your ideas brought back to the East Coast.
And before I forget, it's something that's very big out here is the youth, BIPOC youth who have turned into community gardening, but that's only a project that the space is very limited. And so after a certain time and space, there is no more growth. There is no access to land. And so that's something that I know that I know some of the folks who are doing community projects, not just with the urban farming, but also culinary projects, and they're also indigenous folks and trying to work that. But again, the resources in trying to procure that growth, it's also has been neglected. So thank you.
Thank you everyone for your feedback on these questions. We're pretty much at time, but I want to give another minute if anyone has any last thoughts that they would like to share before we close out. And I mentioned too in the chat that I'll be sending out some of these resources, including emails. So definitely feel free to follow up on anything that you might think of later, or like Brooke said too, just some of the local issues that she could connect to larger FSA and USDA things. And Sara at CDFA is a great resource for anything that you're thinking of statewide. And please reach out to me for anything that you're thinking of with these micro grants if you're in the area, if you know people who might benefit from it in the Bay Area or the LA areas, and just kind of general urban ag, issues or questions, and how CAFF might be a resource to you. And thank you for joining us at this conference. It's my first small farms conference, and it's been amazing to learn from everybody. So we appreciate you taking the time. I know we're probably all hungry, so I appreciate your attention and your feedback.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Every time we're around urban farmers, I always leave feeling inspired by the creativity in the room. So, super, super proud of everybody and really excited to keep on trudging ahead. So have an excellent night, get some rest, and thank you for being here.
Thank you,
you all.
guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.